Welcome back to the Rahway All Day Podcast. In part 2 of our conversation with DJ Drewski, we dive deeper into the evolution of hip-hop, Drewski's journey as a Hot 97 DJ, and his unique perspective on how music shapes culture and community. You'll hear Drewski and Mayor Raymond Giacobbe discuss their top 5 hip-hop icons of all time, the challenges of leadership in music and politics, and the incredible impact of collaboration in building a vibrant local scene.
So, Drewski, where do you see, hip hop culture, headed going in the future? Because I mean, like just in my lifetime, I've seen a transition from, your Eric B and Rakim and your
Right.
Beastie Boys and your the 2 Live Crew down the South to NWA out in the West Coast. So you've seen all this constant evolution and transformation in hip hop. Where do you see it going in the future?
I'm very happy at where it's at right now because it's the biggest genre of music right now, right? And we spoke on evolution.
Who would have thought that we'd take it this far, right?
Growing. Yeah, right. And you look in, sports today and in the news today, and the debate is, should Kendrick Lamar be performing at the Super Bowl or should it be Lil Wayne? And just to have that debate and the focus is on hip-hop music and performing on platforms like the Super Bowl. Like, that's amazing. To me, amazing. It's like sitting back. And I know people are more focused on the Lil Wayne, Kendrick debate, but it's like, you guys understand you're debating about hip-hop music at the Super Bowl.
And a lot of people like to criticize Jay-Z for that selection.
Right.
And at the end of the day, Jay-Z is the main reason why hip-hop's front and center at these Super Bowl halftime shows. And 10, 15 years ago, probably 5, 6 years ago for that matter.
It wasn't even
It
a
wasn't,
thought.
it was mostly
It was
pop.
like anti...
Yeah,
we can't have that
They
here.
wouldn't go near hip hop, that's
Right.
for sure. So, Jay-Z, Rock Nation really was able to, influence the NFL to make them realize that, a large percentage of your players listen to this music. A large percentage of your fans listen to this music, so let's embrace it. And I'm not saying that rock and roll and country and, pop music isn't, important genres.
Right.
And I'm a person that prides myself on liking all types of music. I feel good music is good music. But for a long time, it wasn't highlighted. It was kind of a subculture type of music. And now, to your point, it is a genre that's front and center. And it's the main genre in our country. And it's
at
come
a
a long way.
time where people are switching, like kids today, they don't just listen to one thing. You're listening to hip-hop music, they're switching over to, rock, they're switching over to pop, switching over to country. So to be, number one at a time like this, I think it's amazing. And I just see the evolution of it. And you're seeing these concerts and these festivals sold out, the Rolling Louds, the Summer Jams. So I just really, really like the way it's going and just the new artists that are emerging and everyone using social media to push it. I think social media definitely helped push, the genre because now you're posting videos, you're posting pictures, you're putting hip-hop music underneath. So it's just growing, and for me to be a part of it, I'm just excited to be here.
I was shocked because I heard was Morgan Wallen, I think his name is, and he had a hip-hop song with Lil Durk. I want to think. I'm not.
It might be. Yes,
I don't remember exactly, but it was
Right,
really
the collaborations.
It was really catchy, and I started saying to myself, country is just the Midwest and the South white version of hip hop, in a sense where there's a rhythm to it. They had a lot of their songs rhyme, a lot of their songs tell a story. So there's similarities in the genre, and when you see the two of them collab, it's like it's pretty cool because as different as we think these two genres are. There's a lot of similarities. Yeah.
You see guys like Jelly Roll.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's bringing out like Wiz Khalifa at his shows, bringing majority
that is
of
our
his,
generation.
right.
And I truly feel like that is our generation that, we look at these genre of musics and there's no problem, cross-pollinating them because we grew up influenced by all of them, and especially someone like Jelly Roll or individuals that grew up in an area where maybe country was more, predominant. We grew up in New Jersey, so it was a lot of hip-hop. But, I see, a lot of similarities in these younger artists having, even though they may be country or they may be rock and roll, they have that hip-hop influence.
Shaboozey, the number one country song is the Tipsy song. He sampled Jaquan Tipsy.
There you go.
Like just to see that connection is like, okay, we see where this is headed, and it's only getting bigger. So shout out to everyone in hip hop.
Absolutely, definitely. And so what are your tips for young, aspiring DJs who want to follow a similar path?
We mentioned it earlier, but like take your time with it, learn the craft. I think with social media, And, technology, people felt like, especially DJs, I get a laptop and a little controller, now I'm a DJ. It's like, well, before you go out there and you're calling yourself a DJ, like kind of learn the history of it as much as you could and just learn the skill of it. Take it serious. Don't just try to do it for social media. If you're going to be a DJ, really practice and stay consistent. And, like we were mentioned earlier, people think it just happens overnight.
Yeah.
So they want to get the equipment and then go perform on the biggest stage.
Well, especially social media, unfortunately, portrays that a lot. People see the success and
I
they
understand
see it.
it. So I don't hate on it. Like, no, it's like I understand.
But you got to put the grind in, too.
You're looking at it and you go, I could do this. And you could do it, but it takes time and, like, just patience and learning.
Yeah.
And you can't go from, just getting equipment to DJing at a stadium with 20,000 people. It just don't work like that.
I look at someone like DJ Khaled, right? And he's been, people think that, they see the new Khaled with the playing golf and motivational Khaled and, the platinum Khaled, but they don't realize that he was in Hot 97 like yourself. He was part of the heavy hitters like yourself, grinding, with Fat Joe and Terror Squad early on.
I watched it. I've been to Miami, while he was still on the radio and just seeing how much work Khaled put in and building relationships. Like, a lot of it is the music, right? He's produced a lot of records, but he built relationships with all those artists, like the Rick Rosses and Lil Waynes and the Drakes. Like, that took time, and it takes energy and building relationships. He's maybe over 25 years in, already doing what he's doing. And
I think you said, though, building relationships. I told my son, I don't care if you don't play a down of football at Rutgers University. I truly don't.
Right.
What I want him to do now at this point of his life is develop and build relationships with individuals that later on in life, you never know where those relationships could lead you. So always be your true self. Always put your best effort, forward.
Right.
Always work your butt off. Always be the person who's paying attention, coachable. Take advantage, get your education. And, the rest of your path of life will be laid out. But the individuals you meet now, you never know down the line where that's going to lead you. I'm sure when DJ Khaled first met Drake, he didn't realize that this was going to be one of the biggest artists ever.
Of course not.
And he developed a relationship. Now he can literally call the biggest artist in the world and say, hey, hop on my album. And
that's how it works.
Exactly.
That's how it works.
And that's exactly how it works.
Majority of it is based on relationships. Even the opportunities like I've received is like a lot of it is relationship. Of course, you got to have the skills and
of course, you
it
have to
comes
have
from
tangibles,
relationships. And I tell people your reputation is what's gonna carry you in the long run.
Your reputation precedes you.
Right.
Even
as an
walk
artist,
in a room.
there's artists that they get a hit record, and they might walk in a room and be cocky and disrespectful. 2 years later, when that record is not cool anymore, now they're like, hey, whatever I can do. And it's like, hey, it was too late. Like, you were just way too disrespectful on your first time around, and nobody wants to work with you now.
People, what I feel is the best compliment I ever get is that people feel that I'm humble for a person in my position.
Right.
And I say to them all the time, I go, I'm humble because I have a perspective and an understanding of what this is about. Being mayor doesn't define me as a person. It's not who I am. It's a position I hold. I take tremendous pride in being mayor. But one day, when I'm not in a seat, someone else will be here. So I understand that this is a privilege to hold this position. Right. It's an honor to hold this position. And that's why I'm humble, because I know that tomorrow, tomorrow, the next day, I may not be the individual here, but the time I'm here, I want to make sure that I do everything I can for this great city and leave it better than I found it.
100%.
And then hopefully next generation can take over and continue to build upon that.
Do you feel like, for me, sometimes being too humble not sets you back, but people take advantage?
I think sometimes, I think sometimes, and I always say people take kindness for weakness.
Right.
And then the second that, you show them that you're not weak, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, who is this person?
Guy. Yeah, now you're
the bad guy. But, it's unfortunate that individuals even, take it to that point.
Right.
But at the end of the day, my son, I love talking about my son, as you can tell. He's a big kid growing up, always one of the bigger kids in his class. And I told him, I don't ever want you to be a bully. If I find out you're bullying kids, you're going to have a problem with me.
Right.
But I also don't want you to be someone who allows yourself to be pushed around and bullied as well. Right. And I'm going to give you one more. The fact that you're so big, you better not let anybody around you get bullied either. And that's kind of, how, I live, my life is that I'm not looking to be out there or be a bully, but I will never let anybody bully me or anyone around me for that matter.
Right.
So that's kind of... kind of how I go about it. Some people like it. It turns some people off. But at the end of the day, I only know how to be one way, and that's me, and that's what I do every day.
You either gotta like it or.
Yeah, and listen, I'm always a person that's open to assessing, my decision making and things I do to see if it was actually the right thing. I'll be the first person to tell you I'm not always right, but when I have a belief in something and when I have a belief in people, I stand by them very strongly.
No, and as long as your intentions are pure and real, I think that's what matters the most, especially for me, because even doing the TV and the reality show, you get a lot of I was getting beat up online, right? But I was tough skin, thick skin. Yeah. And it's like, my intentions were always pure. And I can go to sleep at night comfortably. I could, everything I do just in general is like my intentions are always pure. So no matter what someone else says or other people's actions, I know what my intentions were, and I'm cool with that. And I can sleep well at night.
I'm a big believer in the Stoic philosophy, and it says, do not concern yourself with individuals that have opinions of you that is not the opinion of yourself. And that is exactly what, to your point, is that when you lay your head down at night, you know you're being true to yourself, and you know at the end of the day the things you're doing have good intentions. And there's always going to be individuals that question. When President Obama was in office, I said he can come up with the cure for cancer, and someone would say he's overpopulating the world. Because at that time he was getting hammered. I mean, they literally went after him for wearing a tan suit. That's when I made that comment, like tan suit. But it just goes to show you that when you're doing great things, that people are going to come after you. But you have to be strong enough to know that what you're doing is the right thing and continue to move forward.
As mayor, what is your biggest misconception that people still? Is there anything negative that people say that ticks you off? Bothers you?
I think that people don't understand
the way things work.
Yeah, the way things work in a sense where it's like I don't have ultimate power. We have a city council. Our government was designed, 3 branches of government, to have checks and balances. Municipal government is not like our federal government. I can't call the Federal Reserve and tell them to print another trillion. I operate within a budget very similar to businesses, very similar to homes and households. We have expenditures, we have money coming in, and the taxpayer, they're our customers. At the end of the day, and if you raise the price too much on your customers, you're going to go out of business. And if you're not responsible with the taxpayer money, as mayor, you're going to be, you're not going to be employed for much longer. But the misconception is that I handle 100% of the tax burden. In reality, the municipality, which covers your police, your fire, your DPW, all your municipal workers, your city hall, all the stuff you see from municipal government is only 38% of your property taxes. The rest go to the county and to the school system. That's why I work very closely with the board to make sure that we're utilizing and honing in on our resources and help each other in any way we can with shared services, because at the end of the day, the tax burden falls on the taxpayer, and regardless whether you're mayor or not, you want to make sure that you're keeping that somewhat stabilized, and so people want to move to your city.
So people don't understand you don't have ultimate control. So when something like, for instance, the library situation that's going on.
Yeah.
Are they defunding the library?
No, there's no defunding the library. There's just a misunderstanding. I came up last council meeting and I took full responsibility for not giving the library the attention that it deserves. And moving forward, I will. I've looked forward to sitting down with the library board members, because I am a member as mayor of the board, to discuss and go over the 2024 budget, find out where the gaps are, see how the city can help with funding, and also increase the funding so the library can prosper and provide the quality programming and quality facility that the residents of Rahway deserve. So
is that heat that you take, that's not really your responsibility that you're taking on? Do you feel like that? Or?
No. I mean, that one's on me. I'll take that one's on me. That one, it's very complex and complicated. We can have a whole other show on that alone.
I'm only asking because I just happen to be driving. I see people outside City Hall, and I go, "What's happening?" And they're trying to defund the library, and then my wife goes, the mayor, ask him what's going on. And I was like, I don't know if that's even his responsibility, but for people like my wife and people outside City Hall.
Yeah, myself puts forth a budget that to the council for their consideration that they have to approve. And the library funding is a part of that. But you also have a separate line in your tax in your tax bill for the library.
Got it.
And that is the state minimum required for a library based off of mostly house assessment, but other factors as well.
Right.
And because the house assessments in Rahway have risen so much in the last several years, the minimum went from a little bit under $1 million to 1.3. There were some reserves, and it was more just a miscommunication of what was expected. The library is a separate entity. It has its own director and its own governing body. I am a part of that governing body. I promise the public that we're going to get it right. And this kind of goes back to what you and I spoke about before. You use opportunities in your life in order to grow. And this was this is something that I take responsibility for. Like I said before, not giving it the attention that it deserves. Moving forward, it will have my full attention, and I look forward to providing the city with a efficient library that provides quality programming and a state-of-the-art facility.
Boom. Yeah, I wake up, I got to worry about what songs I'm going to play. You wake up, you got to worry about, people's emotions. Because it's more emotional than...
Yes, you deal with a lot of emotions. You deal with a lot of emotions, and I try to detach myself from the emotion when you're in that decision-making process.
Right.
But you have to also understand that you're working for the people, and when they come to you with a concern, you have to be willing to listen to them. And I'm solution-driven. Like I don't like sitting there. We could talk about the problem, but we can't complain about the problem.
Right.
Like we're not going to sit here because if we complain about the problem,
nothing gets done.
Nothing gets done. We're going to talk about it, and then we're going to figure out what's the solution. And that's how I've lived my life, and that's how I've lived my term as my first 2 terms as mayor. So I love how he flipped it on me. I became the interviewee. So how I got a couple more questions for you, and I know you got to go because you're a very busy man, and you're a father, and that itself is a full-time job. So how can I, as mayor, help you provide accessibility and resources to inspiring artists here in the city of Rahway and around? Right. And what I mean by that is, to your point, like you provided a platform. I know that we have a lot of young artists, a lot of talented individuals here in the city of Rahway and even on the outskirts of the city. What can I do as mayor to partner up with you to give them the resources and the access that they need?
Yeah, I think if we're speaking for them, it's just being able to provide those resources. Like I said, my studio is here, and we have an open door. If there's artists that want to come and just learn or just practice their art, I'm here for you. But there's facilities like we're in today, Hamilton Stage, the PAC Center. I think just creating programs that will entice them to want to be a part of it. If you're a student in Rahway and you want to be in the arts and be in music, we come and we create some programs for them.
Okay.
I think you doing the mayor series, concert series, maybe there's opportunity there. If there's a student or a resident that feels like they want to get an opportunity to perform on the stage before the big act, maybe we create something there where they're included in that.
I like that. Yeah.
Right? Like include them in everything that's going on.
Gotcha.
I think that's important. I think even when I did my concert, which was like a private show, we went down to the high school and we created an initiative. Hey, if you get caught, everyone's name goes into a pot. If you get caught without your ID, your name comes out of the raffle, right?
Gotcha,
so it was like
a way to make sure kids are
right, just kind of, and it was like okay,
incentivizing them.
And then they'll pull names out, and you win free tickets to the show, right? And it was just to create an initiative to have them wear their ID, and I think it's just creating fun programming around what we already have going on, and just including the community in it.
Definitely,
and I don't think it's like it doesn't take much effort or energy. We don't want to go out and create these whole new things. It's just like include them in what we have going on.
What we already have. Well, listen, I look forward to coming down and checking out your studio. I definitely am going to come down with Joey Maria, who handles all our social media, and I definitely want to highlight it to the community and let them know what we have here, because I be honest with you, I don't think a lot of people really know that you're even stationed here. One of the reasons, I sat down with my team. We were talking about this podcast, and we just started talking about different individuals.
Right.
And I said I want to get Drewski on here because you and I have talked in the past, just off the record of things we want to do. We never really got a chance to truly sit down and chop it up. So what better way to do it than throw a microphone in front of us and let everyone hear kind of the conversation, because that's really what the goal was today. And I think we definitely accomplished that. And all right, so I'm gonna end the podcast with a question that I think that you have to ask every hip hop head.
Okay.
Who's your top 5?
Oh man, that's hard. All right.
And I'll give you my top 5 when you're done.
Okay, I'm gonna go with
And you're under a lot of pressure because you see these guys. See, I only met Jay-Z once, and I'm never going to see him again probably, so I don't have any pressure.
You might get him at the mayor's show. You never know.
I don't think we can afford him.
Top 5. Jay-Z's definitely in my top 5. Jadakiss is in my top 5. Eminem is in my top 5. Drake is in my top 5, even though I felt like he was low-key hating on him earlier.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I think Drake is the most accomplished artist of our time,
right?
By far,
okay.
by far. Like
I thought you were throwing shade at him.
No.
He's not a real hip hop artist.
No, I said lyricist wise, but that's okay because there's a lot of lyricists that are broke. So I'd rather be Drake.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
I'd rather be Drake that's taking hip hop to different genres.
My last
different
one
world.
is Biggie.
Okay.
Just because I think, and I don't know if you knew, my dad, he was in like real estate. He had nothing to do with like music. He did a rock show here like in 1991. I forgot the date in Rahway.
Okay.
But that was for him, like a personal accomplishment for him. But my brother at the time was listening to Biggie, who was a new artist, and he was going on like his first album run. And my dad just was like, you know what? Let's do a concert at the Ritz Theater in Elizabeth.
Okay.
And I think those, like, just being around that put that bug in me too.
Gotcha.
So when I did like my little hip hop show right here, it just was like a full 180. Like, oh, my dad did a rock show at the same theater where now years later I'm doing a hip hop show.
That's awesome.
Right here in Rahway, and I just thought it was like a special moment for me.
No, listen, and that's what life's about, man. Really, like, you don't. I say this all the time. You don't realize when you're a young man the people who are around you and how they're influencing you positively and negatively.
Right,
let's be honest. Like, and we were blessed that we had enough people around us influencing us positively that we took paths that were that of a positive nature. Right. So, you have to, respect that. And then kind of when you see that, when you're, what's that Dave Chappelle was always say, when you're in someone else's story, to be able to recognize it. And like when you're a person now and you're seeing the things that, you've experienced as a young man now coming completely, 360 around, and you're like, yeah, this is what it's all about. Now you're the older head and you're the one influencing them, and now you're part of their story.
Exactly. I had my nephew on stage who I can see in his eyes thought it was like the coolest thing ever to be on stage. Right. And I'm like, oh, this is now influencing him. It's gonna
right? And that's just how the world works. It sparks that passion. It sparks that energy, and you never know where it can lead from there. All right, so you gave me your top 5, so now I got to give you my top 5.
Break it down.
All right, so definitely Big, definitely Jay.
Okay.
Definitely Nas. All right, so the 4 or 5 is tough because there's probably 5 people I could put in those 2 spots legitimately. Eminem, obviously. Jadakiss, obviously. KRS-One, definitely. Big Daddy Kane when you want to start talking about some older rappers.
Right.
So, and like I said, I'm old school, so you're probably not going to get too many newer artists. But listen, you have to throw when you're talking about a person who's influenced hip hop and taking it to different levels. Drake, of course. You got to throw an individual like Drake in there. But I actually gave my top 5. And I said Big, Jay, Nas, Jadakiss, and 50 Cent. So my boy goes, are you going to pick any rappers that aren't from New York? So I was like, listen, man, that's what I grew up on. But listen, obviously Lil Wayne, you know what I mean? When you talk about individuals who took hip hop and had control of it, for a very long period of time. Wayne, in the 2010s, that was mid 2000s, into the 2010s, nothing went through hip hop unless it was going through Wayne. So, there are a lot of individuals that have really paved the way, and these young artists now, I'm glad that they recognize it and they pay homage because, you don't know where you're going unless you know where you come from.
So if you had your pick before we wrap up, the Super Bowl, Kendrick or Wayne, who would you like to see perform Super Bowl?
Because it was in New Orleans, I think Lil Wayne, and only because when it was in LA, they did Dre, they did Snoop, and that I was actually at that. I was out there for that. I wasn't at the game. I was actually out there, in that area for business around that time. But I just remember when I was watching the Super Bowl and we were in LA at a watch party, and when that Super Bowl halftime came on, the energy, because everyone was from LA, that's their music, that's what they grew up on. So I think that being in New Orleans, Wayne would have probably been more appropriate. But I mean, you can't go wrong with Kendrick. At the end of the day, you can't.
See, that's a good political answer, right there.
Yeah.
See, that's why he's in position.
Just in case I meet Jay-Z ever again, I don't want him to think I was criticizing.
We're not blaming you, Ho.
No, listen, it's a good pick either way, but it's to your point, just shows you how far we've come with
Right,
hip hop
right.
because, you know, now we're headlining the Super Bowl where it used to be a subgenre in the Bronx with breakdancing and a park with boombox.
Right.
You know, Most Def rapping at Washington Square Park, you know, around in a cipher.
Right.
You know, it's crazy, these icons that, you know, you look back and how they started and they were just part of a movement, and it's really cool to see. And you're part of that movement, sir, and you're part of the city of Rahway.
Thank
so
you
thank
for
you for
having
being
me.
on the show. And Rahway All Day, you are now a
Yes.
part of that Rahway All Day family, and I look forward to working with you and continuing to, you know, provide opportunities to our residents and the kids here in Rahway.
Same here. I'm always here for the residents, for the
Awesome.
kids, for the mayor.
Real quick, Hot 97, what times?
The new movement, 11 p.m. Sunday nights. The new at 2 weekdays on Hot 97. And yeah, we do so much stuff. Just follow me at Drewski on Instagram. There's so much things happening, concerts, tours. So
Absolutely.
tap in.
It's the man to know.
Yeah.
Once again, man.
Thank
you. Definitely. Rahway All Day.
That wraps up part 2 of our conversation with DJ Drewski. From the rise of hip-hop to its influence on the community here in Rahway, it's been an inspiring discussion about music, leadership, and legacy. Drewski, thank you for sharing your journey and for being a part of the Rahway All Day family. Don't forget to catch Drewski on Hot 97, follow him at SoDrewski, and stay tuned for more episodes of the Rahway All Day podcast. As always, we'll continue celebrating the people and stories that make Rahway great. Until next time, Rahway All Day.